I think it's time to move on. Let's move on to production and manufacturing. 90% of our customers are manufacturers.
Hmm.
And so I'm really interested to see and show the manufacturing side of Odoo and especially the automation. I'd like to see how how Odoo users can leverage the automation in Odoo to make decisions based on what to manufacture and when to manufacture, production scheduling
Hmm.
as well.
Great. So yeah, let's hop into it. Also, a quick Odoo fun fact: instead of pressing manufacturing, I can just type manufacturing right into the keyboard and go there that way. If you want to navigate a little bit quicker. But yeah, this is the manufacturing homepage, right? If I press overview, it's going to take me here. And what we have here, these three boxes, these are our workstations that we have set up within the system. So we have assembly one, drill one, and assembly two. So you would set these workstations up, and I think the idea here is you would be using our shop floor feature as well, where your people, who are actually doing the manufacturing can um, go through the processes and use a tablet or a mobile device or something like that, and keep track of what they're actually producing in real time. So then you go over to the head of manufacturing or whoever's in charge there, and they're able to have a more comprehensive view of what's going on by the minute almost. So
So I've got a surprise for you. I'm going to stop sharing your screen
mhm.
and share my screen. I actually drummed up the mobile device. Um, do you see it? You see the mobile
I
device
do
here?
see. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the mobile device just in the manufacturing area. And basically it's all the same screens, just designed, and it looks pretty good on this smaller screen here. A list of open work orders and a list of manufacture orders. Um, so yeah, ability to scrap some products. This is worth taking a look at. Okay, yeah, let's go back to your screen. I'll stop sharing.
And I will start sharing. Here we go. So back to the Work Center overview. So, right, overview, and we also have our operations here. So we have manufacturing orders, work orders, unbilled orders, and scrap. So manufacturing orders will probably be more relevant here. We can see a couple of these. We can see the component status here too, really easily, which is nice. So whether the components or the inventory is available or not available. We can also see, if I go into here, some more information. So we can see the product that we're looking to manufacture, right? We can see the products that go into this, so the components, right? And before we jump in, I'll show you the bill of materials too. But the components, the work orders. So this is the work center. I can expand that a little bit just so you can see the work center assembly one, right? So within the bill of materials, we not only have the components, but actually the processes needed to manufacture this. We have some miscellaneous information here too, but yeah, we also have the scheduled date, the scheduled end, and some buttons up here, which is basically how we would start this manufacturing order. So the first thing we would want to do is plan, but before that, real quickly, let me just jump into the product again. We can see, so if you remember the test product I showed you a few minutes ago, this should look similar in terms of format, except there's way more information here. And what we want to focus on right now is the bill of materials. So I can go into bill of materials here, and we're able to see something that looks similar, right? So all the components and the operations, there's no operation here as of right now,
Question for
but
you.
mhm,
Going back to those components.
yes.
Um, Really common these days for small business owners to leverage outsourced manufacturers.
Hmm.
And sometimes they'll supply some material to the outsourced manufacturer, and the outsourced manufacturer may supply some of his own material and, of course, the labor to do the assembly or whatever it is they're doing. Um, what kind of features do you have for that sort of outsourced manufacturing? capability? I know there's a lot of different types of outsourced manufacturing,
hmm Yeah,
but
so within Odoo, that would be called subcontracting, is what we call it in the system. And there's three main types. So one of those would be what we call basic subcontracting. So that would be it's just supplying so there's the first company and then the second company that you're subcontracting to, and you would be supplying that company with products or telling them to manufacture those products without supplying them with the components. So it would be the most basic part or most basic version of subcontracting. And then there would be resupplying the subcontractor. So by definition, that would be shipping components to a subcontractor every time a purchase order for a certain product comes in. So what that means is when a purchase order comes in, instead of just having them, make it themselves, you're supplying them with key components and then they're manufacturing, right? And then the final one would be dropship to a subcontractor. So that would be drop shipping components to a subcontractor every time a purchase order for a subcontracted product is confirmed. So that's a little bit different than the resupply, right? Resupply is you sending the components directly to the subcontractor, whereas drop shipping would be you're getting those raw materials from an external source and sending them directly to that subcontractor.
okay. Well, it sounds like you pretty much covered every possible outsourced scenario. So that's a good, thorough answer to that question. So Odoo has outsourced manufacturers, internal manufacturing, impressively shop floor planning. So not only do you create a work order, but you decide who's going to do it or what section of your warehouse is going to work on that work order. That's what the shop floor planning is for. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what about what I mentioned earlier, automated tools to help the small business owner decide what they need to manufacture based
Mm-hmm.
on demand forecasts or reorder points, um, what you currently have in stock, what you currently have scheduled. What kind of tools do you have um, to empower the small business owner to make good, informed decisions?
Mm-hmm. So I think the first level of this would actually be at the product level, right? Rather than manufacturing, just to see, what's your forecast of the product. And that's available here. Up here, we can see 60 units and 7 forecasted. So I can go ahead and click into desk combination, and we see this nice forecast view, right? Um,
Mhm.
and we can see some information here too. So these are all of the warehouse outbound orders, the manufacturing work orders that are impacting the forecast of this product, right? So we can see here that, really simply, we have 60 on hand. We have 3 incoming. So that would be 3 incoming through an outstanding purchase order. But these items haven't actually been received into the warehouse yet, right? Which is why they are incoming and not in inventory. And then we have outgoing, which would be products that are reserved basically for a sales order. And I'm going to check myself real quick. Incoming could also be manufacturing, so items that are in the manufacturing queue but haven't actually been created yet.
So this is good for one part to look at one part at a time, but
hmm
obviously if we're manufacturing a lot of different things and we've got 100 parts to decide from or 300 parts or 1,000 parts, well, there's got to be some sort of report, like a reorder report that shows, line by line by line, part by part by part, saying you're getting low in this one, you have plenty of this one. We recommend you manufacture X number of this one. What can you
hmm
show us in that regard?
So what I just did was I enabled the master production schedule in the
Ooh,
Odoo. So this is a real configuration, back to the terminology. We're in the manufacturing configuration, and I just checked that box, just like you said.
yeah.
So I'm going to go into planning
Okay.
here. So we have a couple different planning, right? And let me actually plan these real quick before we go any further, just so the demo makes more sense. But we go into here and just press plan.
Okay.
And
So you had
I
to turn the feature on first before we could use it. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes that is a thing with Odoo. There's a lot of things in the configuration and the settings, which is also why it's great to, explore the software within Odoo Expert or somebody, like Lance, who can kind of help you look into those features that might not be evident right away, right? So I'm just planning these right now so we can get them into the system that's already planned. Let me confirm this and plan it. Great. So what that's done is I'm going to go into both, but real quick, planning by production, I can go into here. This is one view. And by planning, it's automatically kind of added this to the calendar. We can see again, this is a simplified view, but from April 1st to I think it's June 30th, we can see everything that's going on there. And we can also see, this is probably a better view, is planning by work center. So you can actually see by each work center, right? We have assembly 1, drill 1, assembly 2. Um, and we can see some hours here as well, what exactly is going to be going on. And let me make this a little bit larger. Great. So we can see desk combination, tabletop, and table are all scheduled under assembly 1. Now, this doesn't really make sense to me, right? We have 2 assembly stations. Why are we just doing everything under assembly 1 if you have both open? So you would be able to easily drag, right, this over here
Hmm.
to assembly 2 and
Very nice.
manufacture that way. So that's one instance of planning, right? And then this is,
Now,
yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to mention, I'm not seeing a whole lot of data. I guess I was imagining I'd see a lot more data on this, but maybe that's because we're just in the demo version of Odoo, and there's really not that many parts, and there's not a whole lot going on in this little demo version. Is that right?
And yeah, that's very fair. We only have 3 manufacturing orders scheduled right now. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking
And
of,
and what I was mentioning before, what I'm looking for is a report that will tell us what we need to manufacture. So I'm still looking to see that.
mhm. And I think this would probably be a better view of what you're looking for would be the master production schedule. So this is a little overwhelming, right? That's a lot just to throw on the screen so we can,
Actually, it might be overwhelming to some, but to a lot, this is exactly what they're looking for.
great.
Like a
hmm
breath of fresh air. I look at this and it's like, wow, okay, this is awesome. This looks like a demand forecasting tool, line by line. Let's see. Yeah, part by part. So the part on the left-hand side is the turquoise,
hmm
and then the forecast demand, and then the replenishment and the forecasted stock. Okay. Okay. And can you change the forecasted demand? Can you update that manually and say, okay, I think we're going to need this many this month, this many this month, this many this month? It looks like, yeah, those are
Yeah.
editable
So,
fields.
mhm.
So that's super powerful. A lot of people look at forecasted demand as more accurate uh, for their industry because they have a less predictable industry. You know, there's reorder points, which is more static, predictable. Okay, these are the healthy stock levels we want. What you're showing me, this forecasted demand is for industries that have a less predictable. And so they can go themselves and basically fill this out with their own intuition, um, crystal ball, if you will, right? But I also saw that this was partially filled out by Odoo. So Odoo must be forecasting based on historical sales, historical use rates, and whatnot. So no, this is one of the things I was looking for. And the replenishment line, is that what it's saying is it's recommending you manufacture? Is that what replenishment would mean?
So yes, you can if you can see that little pop-up right there, the quantity to replenish through purchase orders or manufacturing orders. So manufacturing or buying depending on what route you have for a product selected.
And then the forecasted stock line, that looks like, oh, you can tell when you're going to run out if you're going to run out.
And that would be for the end of the period. So I switched it to weeks here. So this is the forecasted stock at the end of this week.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice you changed it to
hmm
week.
Month, year, week. I mean, probably wouldn't do by, I mean, maybe by year, but even by the day,
No,
right?
week I would say is probably the most common for the
hmm
customers I help, is they would look at it from a weekly basis and do their production scheduling on a weekly basis. And I think that's yeah, really common for businesses that do between 3 million to 30 million a year, um, that are doing manufacturing and whatnot. Um, and I've seen that Odoo does have reorder points, like min and max levels that you can set as well.
hmm
Now, now this is a good reporting tool. Can you accept or reject the recommendations and say, okay, based on what you're telling me to make, go ahead and and create work orders and schedule these work orders based on, what we're seeing here. Is there any sort of automation like that, or do we need to go still manually create the work order, which isn't the end of the world for a lot of people, but I'm just curious.
So I believe you can have the work order created from this. I guess there's a couple ways you could go about that, to be honest. I know some people do choose to do it manually and they treat the master production schedule as more of a suggestion, right? If they want
Mhm.
more control into their business. But I
Yep.
believe you should also be able to remember that resupply button that we had up earlier, um, or order. If you go ahead and click this, and did you see that? That wasn't me going line by line. That by pressing order there, I believe um, I have scheduled replenishments there, and I can do that by the line item as well.
Okay. That's great. That's great. Um, so no, I think you've showed us some great things in production for this short deep dive demo.
Can I ask quickly about stages? Like, how do you deal with multiple stages of a bill of material?
Like sub work orders, sub levels.
Yeah, and getting all those basically pressing a button like they do in Fishbowl and just have multiple work orders created to fill the needed stock.
Multiple work orders to fulfill the needed stock. Well, let's jump into the bill of materials, and maybe you can walk me
And
through.
there's different ways that I've done it in Fishbowl. Is one is automated, another way is you run the tool again after you create the upper level
Oh,
and schedule those. Then I run the tool again because after you create the upper level, it creates the demand for the lower level. And then you
hmm,
schedule that, and then that creates the demand for a lower level. And then you schedule that. And
hmm.
there's different ways that I've done it in Fishbowl. And
So,
yeah, I'm curious. Go ahead, Matthew.
yeah, for example, and let me know if I'm not answering your question here. I think I understand what you're getting at, Josh. But
Sure.
so we have this table product here, right? And we have the manufacturing. This product type is the BOM. And within this product, we have tabletop, right? I can go
Right.
ahead and click into this. This is actually a separate product, right? But it
Oh,
has
okay.
its own bill of materials. And not only does it have its own bill of materials, I can see it's used in another product, right?
Got it.
And if I click into here, we can see this tabletop is made with 2 wood panels. So if I were to create a manufacturing order for a table and I didn't have the tabletop in stock, we would be prompted or guided to create to manufacture the tabletop before
That's
going
great.
to the final product. And again, I've been saying this again and again. I sound like a broken record, but it kind of is up to you how you do um, make this within the system at the product level. For example, you could select MTO or manufacture to order. So whenever that product is in demand, it automatically creates a manufacturing order, or you can do it manually as it comes up, right? So there's a couple ways to do that. But also,
Nice.
real quick, if I go back to table, so I'm just going back through the breadcrumbs. I can also see the BOM overview, right? So we have the table, and then the table and all of its components, as well as the tabletop, which I can click into and then see the wood
Oh,
panel. And I guess it goes even
cool.
deeper. The wood panel is made of a ply layer and a wear layer, right? So,
Oh.
Yeah, I'm
That's
gonna.
exactly what I was looking for. This is great.
Now
right.
you got me in the mood to dive a little bit deeper. I was thinking about going on to purchasing, but now I want to ask a couple more questions about manufacturing. So I noticed on your product you could check a box that say this was either a bill of material or a kit, I think is what the two options were.
Yes.
And a bill of material to me means assembly is required, labor is required. A kit to me means no assembly required. It's just a group of parts that are kind of grouped together,
hmm
right? Um, and so it kind of made me think that, well, it looks like you can put a kit inside another bill of material, which would effectively be achieve the ghost bomb effect, which
Hmm.
means, okay, we're going to pick this group of parts all together, but no assembly is required. That they just all go together to go on this bill of material. It's a nice way of organizing your bill of material. It could be called a kit within a bomb or a ghost bomb. A lot of companies need that, especially the larger manufacturing companies need something like that. So, yeah, that was cool. I just wanted to point that out. Um, what else? What else? It doesn't look like you have any limit to the number of sublevels you can have in a bill of material.
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't think anyone's reached that.